The sharp wail of sirens cut through the air, drowning the soft music and joyous chatter. A line of black SUVs screeched to a halt at the edge of the marble courtyard, lights flashing against the glass walls of the hotel. Uniformed officers spilled out like shadows, their badges gleaming, their expressions stern. In that instant, every laugh turned to silence, every smile froze. The bride's hand clutched her groom's arm, her eyes darting in fear. And the groom, his jaw tightened, his shoulders squared, as if he had long been expecting this confrontation. But what could possibly turn a day meant for love and unity into a battlefield of authority and accusations? And what secret about this groom could silence the very agent sent to arrest him? Before we continue, if you're watching us for the first time, Elliot Stories welcomes you specially with a warm hug. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it with friends, and drop a comment telling us the city you're watching from. We'd love to connect with you. Now, lean in, because what you're about to hear will grip you from start to finish. The courtyard had been perfectly decorated, golden ribbons, blossoms spilling from crystal vases, the string quartet tucked under an awning playing soft notes of celebration. But all of it dimmed the moment a furious voice tore through the air. An older woman, her expression twisted with rage, shoved past startled guests. Her finger jabbed toward the couple at the altar. "They have no right to hold this wedding here," she screamed, her voice cutting like glass. Murmurs rose among the guests, some confused, others embarrassed. Who was she, and why had she brought law enforcement on such a sacred day? The bride's mother rushed forward, attempting to reason with her, but the woman shook her off violently, her face pale but eyes burning. "I called them because this isn't what this place was meant for," she shouted, as if daring the world to challenge her. "They don't belong here." A hush fell. The implication was clear, and it stung every ear within reach. The bride's chest tightened, her fingers gripping her groom's hand even tighter. Her groom whispered to her, calm yet firm, "Don't worry, love. They'll regret this." Meanwhile, the agents in navy jackets marked FBI scanned the scene, confusion flashing across their faces. They hadn't expected this level of commotion. One officer, helmet still strapped, muttered into his radio, "This isn't what the caller reported." The neighbor, because by now, everyone realized that's who she must be, continued, her words dripping with venom. "This event is a disturbance. You're ruining the peace of this neighborhood. And you think you can just walk in here, dressed up, pretending like you own the place?" Gasps erupted. Guests shifted uncomfortably. A bridesmaid placed her hand on her mouth, shaking her head. The bride felt shame flooding her cheeks, though she had done nothing wrong. She wanted to scream, to defend her love, but the weight of eyes on her was too heavy. Her groom, however, did not flinch. Instead, he stepped forward, releasing her hand gently. His tall figure cast a strong silhouette under the evening sun. His deep voice rolled across the space like thunder. "You will not ruin this day. Not for her, not for me, not for any of us." The FBI agents hesitated. They had arrived primed for confrontation, but something about the man's authority, the steadiness in his words, made them pause. Their leader signaled for quiet, observing closely. The furious neighbor scoffed, her laugh bitter. "Authority? You think raising your voice makes you powerful? You're just—" She bit off the rest, but everyone knew the word she wanted to say. It hung in the air like poison. The bride's father finally moved, his own voice trembling with both rage and fear. This is my daughter's wedding. Please, leave us in peace." But the woman refused, her pride swelling. She turned toward the officers, gesturing wildly. "You see? They're hostile. This whole gathering should be shut down immediately." One of the FBI agents frowned. He opened a small notebook, glanced at a document inside, and then back at the groom. There was a flicker of recognition in his eyes. He whispered something to his superior. The superior stiffened, looked again at the groom, and then snapped the notebook shut. The mood shifted. The air, once filled with fear, now hummed with tension of a different kind, anticipation. Guests began whispering, looking between the groom, the agents, and the irate neighbor. Something was happening beneath the surface, something big. The bride noticed the change too. She touched her husband-to-be's arm, whispering, "What's going on? Why are they looking at you like that?" He gave her a reassuring glance, though his eyes betrayed a storm brewing inside. "It'll all make sense soon," he said softly. Meanwhile, the older woman, oblivious to the new energy in the air, kept shouting. She demanded arrests, threatened lawsuits, claimed her neighborhood's sanctity was being destroyed. The FBI commander raised a hand, silencing her. His gaze fixed squarely on the groom now, his voice measured. "Sir," he said, "may I confirm your identity?" The guests collectively held their breath. The bride clutched her heart, confused. Why would the FBI need to confirm her groom's identity? Wasn't he just a man, her love, a groom like any other? But the groom simply straightened his tie, his calmness almost eerie given the chaos. He locked eyes with the commander, and in that stillness, something unspoken passed between them. Respect, recognition, and perhaps a warning. The commander nodded once, curtly. He turned to his team, and with a sharp gesture, ordered them to stand down. The neighbor's voice broke the silence again, shrill and desperate. "What are you doing? Arrest them. That's why you're here, isn't it?" But no one answered her now. All eyes remained fixed on the groom. Who was this man? Why had federal agents, with all their authority, suddenly bowed to his presence? And why was the neighbor, once so smug, beginning to look like the ground beneath her had given way? The bride's heart pounded. She searched her groom's face for answers, but he only gave her a small, enigmatic smile. The night was far from over, and the truth, whatever it was about to shake the courtyard to its very core. The courtyard pulsed with tension. The FBI agents had lowered their weapons, but the crowd's whispers grew louder, curiosity rising like a storm. The older neighbor, her face red with fury, shook her head in disbelief. "Why are you standing down? Don't you see? Here's the problem. Here's the one ruining everything." Her finger jabbed toward the groom like a dagger, her voice shrill enough to cut glass. But the agents ignored her now. Their commander, a tall man with gray streaks in his hair, took a step forward, his boots echoing on the marble tiles. "Sir," he said respectfully, "would you like us to clear this disturbance, or would you prefer to address it yourself?" The crowd gasped. The bride, still clinging to her groom's arm, turned to him with wide eyes. "What's happening? Why are they treating you like... She couldn't even finish the sentence. The groom inhaled deeply, his expression a mixture of calm and weight. He turned slowly, facing the crowd that moments ago had been basking in joy, now caught in shock and fear. He raised his voice, steady and clear. "You all deserve to know the truth," he began. "I didn't want this day, our day, to be overshadowed by titles or power. I just wanted to be a man marrying the love of his life. But since others have forced this into the open..." He paused, his gaze locking with the agents, who now stood at respectful attention. "Yes. I am the governor of this state." The words hit the courtyard like a thunderclap. Guests gasped audibly. Someone dropped their glass, and it shattered on the floor. The bride's mother clutched her chest, while the bridesmaids covered their mouths in shock. The bride herself froze, staring at him in disbelief. She knew he was a man of influence, but governor? He had kept that from her to protect the sanctity of this moment. The older woman, the furious neighbor, stumbled backward as if struck. You're lying," she screamed, though her voice cracked with doubt. She looked at the FBI agents, desperate for validation. "He's lying, isn't he? He can't be, he can't." But the commander stepped forward, his voice firm. "He's not lying. Governor Harrison is telling the truth. And he deserves the respect of every single person here." He turned to his team. "Stand down fully. Secure the perimeter. This is no crime scene, it's a wedding." The groom, Governor Harrison, extended his hand to his bride, who was trembling with a storm of emotions. "I didn't want you to marry a title. I wanted you to marry the man beneath it. That's why I never flaunted it. But today," he squeezed her hand gently, "I will not allow hatred or ignorance to taint what we have." Tears welled in her eyes. "You kept this from me all this time," she whispered. "Yes," he said softly, "because I wanted you to love me for me, not the power, not the name. Just me." The neighbor's fury boiled over, but it no longer carried weight. She shouted, cursed, even tried to step forward again, but two officers intercepted her. Her once fiery tone now sounded pathetic, shrill, and out of place. Guests who had once been silent now openly scowled at her. One muttered, "Shame on her." Another whispered, "Can you imagine trying to ruin a wedding just because of hate?" The bride's father stepped closer to the groom, his face softened with pride and relief. "Governor or not, son, you're the man my daughter chose. And that's enough for me." He turned to the crowd, raising his voice. "Let this day continue. Not in fear, not in shame, but in joy, as it was always meant to." Applause erupted. It started slowly, then swelled into a wave of cheers and claps. The music tentatively resumed, violins weaving hope into the tense air. Guests hugged one another, reassured that love had triumphed. The neighbor, however, collapsed into a chair at the edge of the courtyard, her fury drained into humiliation. She stared at the ground, pale and trembling. For the first time, she was the outcast, not the couple she had tried to shame. The bride turned back to her groom, her tears now those of, or rather than fear. "You could have told me. But you're right. I would have loved you anyway. And today just proves it." He kissed her forehead gently. "Then let's finish what we started." The officiant, who had been standing awkwardly in the corner during the chaos, finally stepped forward again. "Shall we?" he asked with a smile. The crowd laughed softly, tension dissolving. And so, under the glowing lights of the courtyard, with agents standing guard not as enforcers but as protectors, the bride and groom said their vows. Every word echoed louder than before, carrying not just love, but resilience and defiance against hate. When they sealed their promises with a kiss, the courtyard erupted in applause louder than the sirens that had once threatened to silence it. The FBI commander nodded in quiet respect. The neighbor slipped away unnoticed, her voice forever drowned by the strength of unity. The reception became not just a celebration of marriage, but of courage. Guests danced with renewed energy, laughter ringing louder than ever, as if reclaiming what had been momentarily stolen. The bride leaned into her groom's embrace, whispering, "We faced hate, and love won." He smiled, his arm wrapped around her waist. "It always will." And that night, the story of the wedding that nearly ended in chaos became one of the most unforgettable tales of resilience, dignity, and love's triumph over prejudice. Moral lesson: no matter how loudly hate tries to shout, it will always be silenced when love, truth, and integrity stand tall. Power is not in titles, but in the courage to face adversity with dignity. Encouraging word from Elliot Stories. Dear friends, this story reminds us that sometimes life will test our patience, our love, and our strength. But remember this: no matter how dark or loud the storm, love is always stronger. Keep standing for what's right, keep loving without fear, and never let anyone's hatred define your worth. Until next time, keep your hearts open, your spirit strong, and always stay tuned for more great tales here on Elliot Stories.